And then the words came out and he said, no. I couldn't believe it. I said, no. Go into the chapel and we're gonna get married. Or you might get left at the altar. Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. Hello if you're new. So today's video is going to be a review / rant / kiki / psychological analysis of Love is Blind season 3 episodes 8 to 10. I hope everybody is doing as well as can be, and I really do hope everybody is being as proactive as possible in supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. And if you're still on the lookout for some resources, I've linked some in the description. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts on my commentary. I'm always up for a chat, I'm always up for a debate, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, give it a dislike, no hard feelings. And if you really like this video, consider subscribing and helping your girl out. So, Love is Blind season 3 episodes 8 to 10. Now going into this, I kind of just thought it was going to be leading up into the marriages, but we actually do have one marriage confirmed and one left on a cliffhanger. We know the answer that one person gave, but we don't know what the other person's going to say, honey. I feel like overall there was less drama these episodes. Obviously the marriages are a bit of a drama, but overall, spread out, there wasn't much drama. There was still drama, but not as much as last week. Last week was a fucking hellfire. This week is a bit more tame, a bit more of a candle fire, but I feel like we do get to find out a bit more information about the people on this show. We see more interactions with friends and family, and then we kind of see the run up to the wedding. And then, as I said, we do see 2 weddings. One is complete, one we need to know the answer from. Going into this, I thought that I was sure what some people were gonna say, but I did think there was leeways for curveballs to be thrown, because I did watch season 2, and on that season I thought I was sure about what people were gonna say, but some people really surprised me. So I always kind of left leeway that, you know, maybe I might not get the answer that I was expecting. And I think some of you guys might be like, oh my god, like, I can't believe that. Of course, we'll get into that. So first up in the episodes, we see the aftermath of the night out. Obviously, the big drama from the night out, Nancy and Batiste were arguing, and there was also a big argument with Matt. Obviously, Matt and Colleen were having issues. They had numerous arguments throughout last episode, and it blew up after the night out. Matt was feeling some type of way that Colleen went to the club. He's on that, if you're my woman, why would you need to go out to the club at 2 a.m? I've been disrespected, I'm packing my bags, I'm leaving. So it turns out that Matt knew where Colleen was this whole time. Colleen didn't hide the fact that she was going to the club. In fact, it seems like this was an organized night out from production. There was a car for the girls, there was a car for the boys. I guess some couples chose to opt out, i.e. Nancy and Batiste or Matt and Colleen. I'm guessing Matt was under the impression that Colleen was going to come back to the apartment with him, but even so, he knew where she was. He knew that she was going out. She FaceTimed him, I'm with the girls, we're going out. That was cool. And then when she FaceTimed him again and she was in the club, still with the girls, now he's mad, and that's how that situation blew up. So to me, that's a big red flag. I did have some comments in my last video of people saying, well, you know, he's a man, so like of course he's gonna feel this way. I just feel like I was already before the context, but after the context, it's looking like a big fat red flag. I'm still getting controlling vibes from Matt. I'm still getting abuser vibes from Matt. So for me, yeah. So obviously Colleen gets back from the club now. She's like, what the fuck? When she sees he's got all of his stuff packed, and she kind of calls him out and says, you know, you're blowing things out of proportion. I feel like you're trying to push me away, and if we're gonna be together, you need to make more of an effort in this relationship. And then it was back to the, oh, well, we can make it work. And I was like, oh, bitch, like, I get you want your calendar wedding, but Matt is not going to be your calendar husband, honey. You're going to be organising the autumn shoot, and then Matt picks an argument and the content date is ruined, hun. So I feel like Colleen, again, she's somebody who excuses red flags, but I feel like her tolerance is definitely getting less and less. I feel like in terms of her relationship with Matt. Matt is like pretty much on his third or second last straw. She even says that she's not going to be surprised if, you know, he walks away from the relationship, but she kind of rationalizes it as him being scared to commit to her. So that's why he's picking all these arguments so he can pack up and leave. And I can definitely see that, but I definitely think Matt also wants Colleen to have to prove himself to her every time he threatens to leave to stay. So yeah, he will leave, but he will only leave if you don't beg for him to stay. But it's kind of like, what is the basis of the begging? Your delusions and things that you've made from nothing. And I feel like Colleen doesn't see that toxic aspect of the relationship. She's just rationalizing it as he's a commitment phobe, so he's creating these problems. So at this point, I'm just kind of thinking like maybe Colleen is still trying to make it work because she doesn't want to fail the experiment. So also after the aftermath of the night out, in the beginning, Batiste again was on a mission, plotting his escape from this relationship with Nancy. You know, he kept hyperfixating on the things that he perceived as wrong in their relationship. They stopped being intimate with each other, but he's still talking about how even though, you know, they're going through a difficult time, he still wants to make it work. I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to make it work. But I was just kind of like, at that point, because it's like treating somebody horrible but then still wanting it to work is a bit strange, a bit psychotic in my opinion. So at that point, I was just kind of like, you're full of shit. You're obviously trying to dip. We also see SK and Raven having a little kiki about last night and all the drama that everybody else seemed to be in and how they weren't a part of the drama and how they're such a perfect couple. And I feel like every time I've seen this on the show where, you know, couples are like, oh, we're actually the best couple, we're a better couple than everybody else, typically the relationship doesn't work out. I've also seen Alexa and Brennan do that as well. So it's given like Danielle and Nick, they used to do that all the time and look how they turned out. And I feel like that's kind of strange. Like that makes you feel good that other relationships are worse than yours. And I also kind of just felt like SK and Raven were a bit delusional about their relationship. I've seen a lot of people support SK and Raven's relationship and say they're cute, but for me, I just kind of feel like there is like nothing there in this relationship. I'm not seeing it. I don't think they are compatible at all. I don't even think they have any shared interests. So for me, them saying they're such a good couple was, for me, it was a bit delusional in my opinion. Interestingly, Raven revealed that Alexa basically said that she would be the worst wife out of the group, and she kind of felt a type of way about that. Looking to SK for reassurance, he reassures her, but I gotta say, I think Alexa was right. I don't see Raven as a wife. I don't think Raven possesses many, if any, qualities that would make a good wife. I feel like she would make a good trophy wife, but in terms of being a wife of substance, I personally don't think Raven would make a good wife. For me, Raven gives off in a relationship but single vibes. What I thought was interesting in SK's reassurance of her is, again, a lot of delusion. He's talking about she's a treasure. He likes that she's not a traditional wife. She's not basic. She doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mum. She's, you know, ambitious and stuff like that. And I'm just like, are you not seeing what I'm seeing? She clearly also, you know, wants to be taken care of, asking you to pay half of her rent whilst she knows that you're on a student budget. She's talking about when she got married, she would have hoped that she would have an elevated quality of life. And though she tries to use cryptic language, I know she's a material girl. I know she was hoping for a husband who was a provider, who was going to cover all of her bills, pay for her hair, pay for her nails. I know that's what she was hoping for. So at this point, I kind of felt like both of them were being delusional. And at this point, I was still like, how is SK enamored by Raven? And I was just thinking, I feel like he's enchanted by her beauty. And to him, she's the American biracial baddie pinup trophy wife that he always wanted. Because to me, that's the only thing that Raven is offering, her beauty. I really don't think Raven is offering anything else. So then we have Cole and Zaynab. Cole finally apologizes for the disrespect of him, you know, propositioning Colleen at the pool party. And I believe at this point, this was the first time that he told Zaynab that he loved her. Interestingly enough, at this point, Zaynab doesn't say it back. She kind of dresses it up as, oh, well, I can say that I love things about you. And I feel like at that point, Zaynab still had a lot of reservations about Cole. So she didn't really want to, be vulnerable with him because he keeps being trifling and he keeps creating insecurities in her and their relationship. So I feel like she was right to be reserved in that moment. But I thought that was interesting because I'm kind of hoping that, this is Zaynab processing that Cole is not a good guy for her and she should ditch and run. The friends and family meets and interactions continue throughout the episode. So first we have Alexa and Brennan. Alexa takes Brennan to meet all of her friends. Notably for this meetup, Alexa dressed up Brennan. I think Brennan let her dress him up this time. But, this insistence on Alexa, making over Brennan, I think would cause issues down the line if they were to marry. I feel like, again, Alexa wants to mold Brennan into a brand new person. And to me, it's not sustainable. I feel like the majority of the meeting was very friendly, but I feel like the friends had some valid questions. So with the friends, I feel like a good point that they made was that they don't want Brennan to be a yes man and say yes to everything to please Alexa. And then when it comes to the wedding day, he realizes he's done all these things to please her. He hasn't really thought about himself. And now he doesn't really want to go through with it because it's not what he really wants. But Brendan, being a yes man, he's, retorts back, yes, this is what I want. I'm doing this because I want to and I love Alexa. Again, with what his mother said, that he's a runner, he's a track star, I just kind of feel like maybe that is what's going to happen with Brennan. He's going to become overwhelmed with trying to assimilate into Alexa's world. It becomes too much for him and he does a runner. So then we have Matt and Colleen. Colleen meets Matt's friends. And interestingly, it's revealed during this kind of friend meetup that Matt hasn't been in a committed relationship since his last marriage. In fact, he generally goes on about an average of 2 dates before he calls it quits. So I'm thinking, okay, now it's leading the narrative of, okay, he's got commitment issues. I'm thinking maybe after day 2, maybe the women knew something weren't right and made their escape. But okay, it's being framed as he's scared of commitment. He doesn't want to get hurt again. So now I'm thinking, like, if that is your average is 2 dates before you quit. Let's take it as, okay, he's the commitment phobe and he's quitting these relationships after 2 dates. Why are you now jumping into a marriage? You're clearly not ready. You're clearly not healed. Why did you come on this show, Matt? Very strange. When you're clearly not ready for a relationship, let alone another wife. Very weird, Matt. Very weird. So I'm just kind of thinking, A, it's not making sense, or 2, the girls were running away from you, but you really wanted someone else, so you came on this show hoping you were going to secure someone. But anyway, his friends are friendly to Colleen, but what I kind of didn't really like is that they kind of excused his problematic behaviour. They basically just played it off as he's a sensitive guy, he's an emotional guy, he's 95% all talk. And to me, that translates to, I need to pack my bags and leave in the middle of the night. In my last video, I did get some comments defending Matt, giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I just kind of feel like, I'm sorry, I've watched too many true crime documentaries. I'm not here to take chances, huh? For me, when there's problematic behaviour like this, I can't let it slide, honey. We also see Matt meeting Colleen's parents. And we also find out from her parents that Colleen hasn't been in a committed relationship either. This is the first time that she's actually bring somebody home for them to meet. And to me, that makes complete sense. I don't think Colleen understands the seriousness of a relationship or marriage. She's here for calendar marriage. She has no idea what a real marriage entails. But then again, I can understand her being 25. The dating pool is probably shit. So maybe that's why she hasn't brought anyone home. Also, what I found very interesting is that her mother kind of justified Colleen not opening up and being a bit closed up and private about her feelings about things. And I was like, maybe this is where she gets it from, where she feels like she can't really express her emotions. So anyway, they do this, editing bit where they get Matt to step out the room, and then Colleen has a conversation with just her parents. And she does express that, there are some things going wrong in the relationship, that she fears that, he might have commitment issues. But she doesn't really get into the real about his like anger issues and problematic behavior. And her mum, kind of calls her out and is like, I feel like you're not telling me the whole thing. I feel like you're withholding information. And I feel like she's withholding this information because she knows, like, if her parents was to find out that, Matt was being really aggressive, getting up in her face, accusing her of this and that, they would tell her to leave. And she's still trying to make it work. She can see the laminated calendar print, and she wants to hold on for that just a bit longer. So then we move on to the wedding prep. Raven goes with SK's mum to the Nigerian tailor for the kind of Nigerian aesthetics of her wedding outfit. And that's where it all starts unraveling, honey. A thing for me to note down is that, again, Raven is still being resistant to fully immersing herself within the Nigerian culture. Before it was, yeah, we're gonna have a Nigerian wedding, we're gonna have a Nigerian DJ, we're gonna have a Nigerian food, it's gonna be like a big Nigerian celebration. Now it's, oh, I don't want it to be a fully Nigerian wedding. I kind of want it to be like half and half, like half Nigerian, half American. But it's like, what do you mean by that? An American wedding is essentially a Western wedding. It is essentially, a white wedding. The father gives away the bride, you say I do's, and then you have a reception. And the only thing I could think of is maybe like American food, like maybe she wants a southern food at the wedding, because I feel like it would still be very easy to have a Nigerian wedding, still have it quite westernized so that it's still like satisfactory to Americans. So I kind of feel like the need for her to make that distinction seemed a bit weird to me, that she needed to bring it up. So to me, again, it just confirms to me she's not really enthusiastic about immersing herself within Nigerian culture. Now, I'm not saying she should or she has to now fully immerse herself within Nigerian culture. She's allowed to have boundaries. If you don't want to be a part of it, just say it with your chest, like all of this And I just kind of feel like if your partner is very proud about their Nigerian heritage, to have this obvious lack of enthusiasm is weird to me. In the last batch of episodes, I was suspicious that SK's mum didn't really grill her or kind of, inquire about what she knew about Nigerian culture and what would be expected of her as the wife of a Nigerian man. I thought that was a bit strange that she didn't really mention that. She didn't check Raven on eating the fufu or pounded yam, I'm not sure what it was, with a fork and not her hand. But that's clearly because she was planning the auntie ambush. So basically the aunties at the Nigerian tailor store basically give Raven a little schooling session of, what would be expected of her in their eyes as a Nigerian wife. And essentially they expect her to be a traditional African wife. They want her to do the cooking, the cleaning, pamper her husband. She has to remain humble. Even if her man is making more money than her, she needs to remain humble and submissive and let him lead. Also has to defend her husband's honor at all time. Therefore, she can't be, going out popping her pussy all around Dallas. She has to be a woman of standard. You have to bow down to them. You have to live for your husband. You have to live for men. You have to serve men. It's all about men. So yeah, African Wife 101. And Raven is kind of like, yeah. But I can see in her face, she is horrified. Absolutely horrified. And I don't blame her, because I was horrified too. I'm African, and I can say that this is what a lot of African men expect, and this is what a lot of their mothers expect their wives to do as well. And I think oftentimes when you are marrying an African person, their family would expect you to be socialized in this way, because generally Africans marry other Africans, but they expect, like, if you were to come in now to our community, you would do things the African way. because your husband comes first, so you have to do things the way that he likes it. This is what they expect, honey. They expect you to be doing up slave for them, cooking in the kitchen, then we in the bedroom. Like, no, hun. And I just couldn't be dealing with the mother-in-law as well. Like, you're going around their house and you're expected to come into the kitchen and help cook and clean. I don't even go to hall parties anymore because I'm at that age where they're gonna expect me to be serving food and drinks. So I'd rather just stay at home. And I know some women enjoy it, you know, being the homemaker, the cooking and the cleaning. But I just feel like in the African community, that shit is always on steroids. For me personally, it's not something I can subscribe to. I need to be with somebody who can outsource all of the domestic duties. We need a private chef, we need a cleaner. Childcare, I'm happy to do, but everything else, it needs to be outsourced. I need to be with somebody whose priority is making sure that I'm living my best life. Generally, I don't think it's that extreme. Obviously, SK's expectations are not as extreme as his mother and, you know, the aunties at the Nigerian tailor shop. But do I think he wants a wife that is a bit more submissive? Yes, I do. And I'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of felt for Raven in that situation because I've had that talk about what I should be as a wife, and I was just like, what the hell? But in that moment, I was just kind of thinking, Raven is probably not going to marry this man after this situation, because if I was to hear this 2 days before my wedding day, after he basically told me that he didn't want a traditional wife, but now his mum is now ambushing me, telling me I should be doing this and this and this, I personally wouldn't want to marry SK, because even though you've told me you don't want a traditional wife, I'd be thinking in the back of my head, you know, the mother's going to be checking on him to, you know, check if I'm doing my wifely duties. And then, you know, maybe slowly and surely he's going to be like, oh, well, maybe you can cook, you know, once a week, or, you know, every now and again. And then suddenly he now starts expecting all of this stuff from me. If I had that interaction, that's how I would feel, and I would be like, nah, I don't think this marriage will work for me. Interestingly enough, when it comes to SK now preparing his, you know, Nigerian outfit, he starts talking about how it's important for him that he has a wife that understands, you know, his cultural nuances. And again, to me, this is news to me, because why are you marrying Raven then? At this point, I was thinking, you clearly don't, bitch. Because when you were sitting at the table with Raven's friends and they were cussing out Nigerian women, you didn't have nothing to say. So at this point, I'm thinking, I don't believe you. So anyway, he goes on further imply that he would expect, you know, him and Raven to partake in some, you know, traditional Nigerian customs, you know, for their wedding. I'm not Nigerian, I'm Congolese, but I feel like generally the culture of marriage is very similar. One main thing is the families. Both families, or at the very least, a representative of the family needs to be, you know, at the wedding. Sometimes even before the wedding, there needs to be like preparation before the wedding. But obviously, because, you know, they're, you know, being married very quickly, I think at the very least they wanted like the family being there at the wedding. Usually the families come together, they discuss a dowry, and they do like some, like, you know, ceremonies where, you know, they introduce, you know, each other to each family. The husband to be meets with the wife to be's family, and, you know, they meet, and, you know, he expresses to the family, you know, his intention, and then they both like give their blessing for this marriage. And then there might be some other, you know, bits and bobs as well, but generally the families coming together is a big aspect of, you know, traditional African marriage. But obviously nobody from Raven's family is coming. Like, it's not just her parents. Absolutely no relative is coming to the wedding. She says that they can't come for various reasons. I feel like SK was kind of maybe not buying it. She couldn't find like a one relative to come to the wedding, and kind of took that as, you know, clearly the family in general are not in support of this wedding. It's not just the parents. And obviously he's a proud Nigerian. He's now having to compromise on, you know, fundamental things in his culture. And, you know, now he's going to have to go back to his, you know, Nigerian family and say, oh, well, we can't do it, you know, the traditional way anymore. And they're going to be looking at him sideways because, you know, in, you know, African culture, if you don't, you know, do things traditionally, the marriage is kind of looked down upon. And sometimes if you don't do things the traditional way, people won't turn up to your wedding. I personally don't want to do a traditional African wedding. And my parents said if I don't, they're not going to come to my wedding. It's not a disown thing. Your family are not going to disown you, but they're just not going to come to your wedding. So I feel like at this point, this is probably where SK started to reconsider their marriage and whether they were compatible. If he couldn't even, have a proper Nigerian wedding, she couldn't do this for him. This is a very important part of his culture. And, she couldn't do that for him. He does claim to be a proud Nigerian. So I feel like maybe, Raven not being able to, provide one relative to represent her so that they could do up traditional marriage, was, a bit of a hit to his ego because he really wanted this, traditional wedding. SK's mum is not happy about that either. So I feel like that just created a bit of a strain in their relationship for SK at this point, because before he was just in his delusion and not really wanting to see how their relationship might not work. But this is when he, started thinking and using his brain. We also see Colleen go dress shopping and she's talking about, I've been dreaming about this day since I was a little girl. And I was like, I think we know, girl. Like I've been saying, calendar marriage. Then we also see Batiste go to his sister, and I kind of felt like he was going to his sister, the one that was crying about the whole abortion thing, to get approval to back out of this relationship. I feel like that's what he was doing. And like one of the reasons that he gave, like as to why him and Nancy's relationship wasn't working out, is because his friends didn't find Nancy attractive. And I was just like, is this guy really serious? First off, Nancy is gorgeous. And second off, why do you want your friends to find your wife attractive so bad? Is that not a bit strange? I feel like this is beyond the, showing, the picture to your friend to see what they think about their looks. Like, oh, like, do you think that they're ugly or not? Like, I feel like this is beyond that because Nancy is gorgeous. But I feel like in Batiste's delusional mind, he just kind of feels like he needs to be with somebody who looks like a supermodel on his arm, and everybody needs to think that he's got this supermodel trophy wife. Now he's embarrassed, and it was just, I don't know, the delusion is just so strong and strange for me. Very strange. Well, obviously, Batiste didn't get the answer that he wanted because his sister was basically like how like looks shouldn't matter. Like if your relationship is going well, you can see your relationship working out, then go for it. Like it doesn't matter about, family approval right now. Just do what makes you happy. So then now Batiste is like, oh, okay, I'm going to make the relationship work now. We also see Alexa and Brennan prepping for their wedding. Obviously, Alexa is Jewish and they're going to have a Jewish wedding. During this little get together, they do reveal a Jewish prenup that they kind of expect him to sign. And in this Jewish prenup, it stipulates that even if you divorce Alexa, you will still be responsible for her financially for the rest of your life. I don't think that's a wild prenup, to be honest. I kind of feel like, if that's the prenup agreement and I'm the one benefiting, then let's sign the prenup. Now again, Brennan, the yes man, he says, yes, I will sign it. Of course, I will take responsibility for the Alexa and any children that we have. But I know that he was, a bit taken aback when they read that out because it's a big commitment. Reminds him again that marriage is a big commitment. And now this is even a bigger commitment that you're now going to sign a contract saying that even if you guys divorce, you are still going to have to take care of her and any subsequent kids. Generally, this is what happens, when people divorce. Generally, the husband will contribute to the kids at the very least. But then, there are many situations where, when it ends in divorce, husband runs off and makes a new family and forgets about the old family. So if he's a runner, then, this could be a bit of a conflict for him if he's now signing this prenup where he's now bound to being committed to Alexa for the rest of his life. So again, I feel like this was another situation where Brennan is saying yes, but really he means no. We also see Zaynab and Cole preparing for their marriage, but obviously for them it's a bit different because obviously Zaynab is an orphan. Obviously because she's an orphan, she is going to be missing out on, this milestone with her family, and obviously weddings in general heavily involved, you know, your parents, you know, typically your dad gives you away. You have, you know, the first daughter dance, you know, your mum helps you get ready for the wedding. Your mum is the mother of the bride. She's a part of the bridal party. She's not going to have any of that. So obviously she's clearly upset, and I just kind of feel like Cole wasn't really being very sympathetic. Like, he said sympathetic things, but he was literally like on the other side of the table, didn't go up to her to comfort her. He was just like, oh, I'm sorry about that. I hope I can make it, you know, a good day for you. And I was just like, where is the romance? Where is the affection? Like, I was just like, Zaynab, this man does not like you. He really does not like you. And then we see the final dates before the weddings begin. So first up, we have SK and Raven. They kind of talk things out, and it seems like they have resolved any of the issues that I saw prior when it comes to cultural differences, when it comes to, you know, SK being, you know, a student on a student budget, and also them doing long distance because he's going to be studying in California. Even though I still, at this point, I did not think that they were compatible, it was a cute date. They did look like a cute couple together. They sold it for me in this moment that I thought that there was a good chance that they were both going to say yes. And for me at this point, for SK, I was like 100% he's gonna marry Raven. Raven, I was always just a bit iffy about her. But at this point, I thought SK, he is enamored by her beauty. She is his trophy wife, and he's gonna marry her. Then we have Matt and Colleen, and their date is just like really tense and unromantic, and Matt is just putting on the pressure. I feel like he was asking valid questions. He was, but like, it was just like really pressured. Like, it wasn't very tactile. It was like, do you see yourself with me? Tell me the truth. Do you think love is enough for a marriage? Tell me the truth. Colleen doesn't want to say the truth, so she's dancing around the question like, oh, well, I don't really know yet. Or like, you know, I could see it in the future. Like, yeah. And he's just like, just say it. Just say the truth. Tell it to me straight. And she admits that she can't see herself marrying him right now. So I feel like Colleen, the doubts are definitely starting to marinate. But again, interestingly, see again, George's the love question. Oh, do you think love is enough for a marriage? And I was just thinking, she don't even love you for that to be enough to sustain the relationship. Like, that isn't even up for debate. She don't even love you. Like, why is that even up for debate? She clearly doesn't even love you, hun. But I feel like, yeah, people always say that question, is love enough for marriage? I guess in the context of this show, Love is Blind, is love enough? I would say no, it's not enough for me anyway. I feel like it's, especially in marriage, other factors definitely are just as important in my opinion. Then we see Zaynab and Cole. It's another cute date. Zaynab finally tells Cole she loves him. It seems to be going well. But again, an interesting point Zaynab makes is that, you know, she loves Cole even though he stresses her out, but the undertaking of stress is worth it because she gets to be with him. And I'm just like, what? Why is he causing you stress? And how is he causing you stress before you've even married? I really don't get this thing where people get married and they don't like each other and they stress each other out and they're just like, oh my god, my husband stresses me out. Why are you guys together? Like, what is this thing against peaceful relationships and peaceful marriages? Do you guys not value peace? It's really strange. So then we see Alexa and Brennan, and I'm still not sold on them. I just kind of feel like their relationship is really robotic. I feel like Alexa has said a lot of side comments about Brennan that makes me believe that she's not really interested in him. She also said something really weird like, you know, don't expect me to be like animated on our wedding day because I'm probably just going to be in shock. Like, how are you prepping Brennan before your wedding day for you not having a smile on your face, not being happy, not looking happy? I thought that was a bit weird. And then also Brennan basically says that, you know, sometimes he doubts whether she's interested in him. Oh, maybe like you're 80% interested in me, but sometimes I'm just like, are you really interested in me? He says it in a jokey way, but I feel like he was being honest, like, because yeah, I don't see it either. I don't really see Alexa's interest in Brennan. It just kind of feels like They're just two people together and they want to get married, so they've chosen each other to get married. That's what it feels like. Then we have Nancy and Batiste. They are unfortunately going well. Batiste is now putting a lot more effort into the relationship. He's being more romantic, he's being more intimate, being more thoughtful. And Nancy's talking about, he's the perfect guy. And I'm just like, perfect where? Perfect how? Like, all of the things that you've seen and you've come to the conclusion that this man is perfect. And then on top of that, did Batiste call Nancy the perfect wife back? No, he didn't. I would love to say stand up Nancy, but I fear her legs are broken. So after the final dates, it is now the road to the marriages. Carl is back on mission sabotage and he starts picking an argument with Zaynab, basically accusing her of not being enthusiastic enough about the wedding. And then he starts pressing her on, whether she wants to get married right now. At this point right now, does she want to get married to him? Zaynab is dancing around the question. She's not given a definite answer. He's still trying to press her. And then basically she's just like, cut the bullshit. Like, I know you're unsure about whether you want to marry me. Then, of course, very predictably, it all comes out. Cole was very strategic in picking a fight with Zaynab and meddling, making holes in their relationship so that he can establish an escape route. This questioning of Zaynab's enthusiasm towards the wedding, to me, is very insincere because he knows that Zaynab has valid reasons of her being unsure about Cole because of the continuous disrespect. But he now, takes this opportunity to be like, yeah, I do have doubts about, marrying you. And he starts listing all the qualities he does not like about Zaynab. And of course, Zaynab is being defensive. And when she starts defending herself, Cole is like, are you bipolar? And I know Zaynab is taken aback by that. Like, that is ultimate gaslighting. People in general don't like it when you accuse them of having mental illnesses in a derogatory way as well. I just kind of feel like this was a very ableist and misogynistic comment from Cole. He did it knowing it was going to trigger Zaynab. It's the oldest trick in the book for men to antagonize women by claiming that they have mental illness during an argument. So of course Zaynab is taken aback. She's like, what the fuck? And she's just basically like, bitch, if I'm not your dream girl, go find somebody else, because I'm a fucking catch. So if you don't want me, go find somebody else. And I was like, Pearl, let this be the end, please. Zaynab, let this be the end. But unfortunately, it's not. Cole again comes in, obviously he's a salesperson, but obviously all the stuff that he says, I'm not buying any of it. I don't know how Zaynab keeps, taking him back and buying his bullshit apologies. He tries to dismiss his bipolar comment, basically saying it's not that deep, but he's sorry and they make up and it's seemingly all good. And I'm just like, Zaynab, please be rid of this man. He is dirty and he has no problem degrading you. He clearly hates you. He literally admitted that he hates her a little bit. Clearly she doesn't really like him either. There's bits of him that she clearly dislikes. So I really don't get what it is. Is it a passionate hate for each other that's bringing them together? And I see it all the time in relationships. People who hate each other are in a relationship. And for me, it's just really strange. Cole is just a very horrible person. And now it's very evident that this is a tactic to break Zaynab down. Zaynab already had insecurities, yes. But Cole is intentionally adding on insecurities, and to me it is feeling abusive because now it's become systematic, him planting insecurities into Zaynab, then gaslighting her, and then apologizing, but only taking a limited amount of accountability. So after that, then we have the bachelor and bachelorette parties. For the bachelor party, they have a southern theme, and they have this activity for the husbands to be where they basically go into this field and they chase cattle to retrieve, a necklace from their necks. And that's the goal, to retrieve the necklace. And I was like, absolutely not. And so was SK. SK was like, no, I'm not doing that. For me, I don't think that would be fun. We also kind of see the husbands to be interacting with their friends at the bachelor party. We see Cole with his friends. his friends are basically like, we don't think you should get married. You guys always have problems in your relationship. So yeah, I kind of feel like Cole has probably been bitching to his friends about Zaynab. So it's no surprise that they don't support this marriage. And to be honest, their engagement is a mess. We also see SK with his brother and his friends. And all of his friends are basically saying how SK is so happy with Raven. Like, they've never seen him this happy in a relationship. They know that their marriage is going to go well. And again, I was just thinking, like, it must be the beauty. Like, he's happy to be with a beautiful woman. Like, maybe he hasn't been able to get a Raven in real life, and that's why he was, so excited about getting with Raven. Maybe, they're in support of him getting his American trophy wife, because everybody is just ignoring that they're not compatible. But then again, maybe they've just kind of seen the highlights of the relationship. Maybe SK hasn't, divulged everything, so maybe they don't know that they're incompatible. We also see Batiste talking to his friends. He's now really enthusiastic about his relationship with Nancy. He says, they're making things work. He really thinks that they can work long term. And interestingly, his friends were not looking impressed. Like, I feel like the friends were kind of thinking, like, this is Batiste being full of shit. Like, they've seen him be full of shit before, and they're just like, you're full of shit. And also, I was kind of thinking, like, are these the friends that were judging Nancy? Are these the friends that were judging Nancy's looks? Because if they were, I can see why Batiste hangs out with them, because the audaciousness. If they were the ones who were talking about Nancy's look and how they don't think that she's a hot wife, I can see where the delusions are coming from. And it's very scary out here. It's very scary out here. It's giving going through your likes on Hinge. So yeah, it seems like Batiste has done a complete 180, and I just kind of feel like it's the free rent. Nancy's money being his money. He knows he's going to be pampered, so that's what I was kind of thinking, because his 180 did not make sense to me. And it's clearly not making sense to his friends either. And we also see Matt talking to his friend again, and his friend is basically telling him, it's understandable that you're hurt from your past, but you need to move on with your past. And if you love this girl, then marry her. Like, give this relationship a chance. And Matt seems to be very encouraged by this and seems very enthusiastic about the marriage now. But again, I don't really like how the friend excused his problematic behavior, like basically saying that his problematic behavior has been justified because he's been hurt in the past. Like, it's not justifiable in my opinion. And I feel like it's enabling problematic behavior when you do not check your friends on their problematic behavior. Because he's calling Matt a good guy, and it's just like, where is that? It's given the good guys that turn out to be bad guys. Then at the bachelorette party, interestingly, Raven reveals that she believes that she had been given a bad omen before the wedding. SK had bought her some pet fish. I'm not sure what the breed of fish were, but they apparently look like they're kissing each other. And the next day, they were both dead. And she kind of just feels like it's an omen for their relationship. And at this point, I was kind of thinking, like, Raven is looking for a way out of this relationship. I kind of felt like at this point, Raven was going to say no at the wedding. Because why else would you bring that up? You clearly don't want to marry him, and now this is your sign. So I kind of just thought Raven was going to say no at the altar. But yeah, what a bad omen indeed. At the bachelorette party, Colleen also tells the girls that she doesn't really feel protected by Matt. Like, she doesn't feel like Matt is going to take a bullet for her. And the other girls are kind of telling Colleen to give Matt some grace. They're saying, oh, he's probably just young, just give him some time. And I wasn't really here for that. But then again, maybe Matt is very charming to everybody else. He doesn't show his aggressive side to everybody else. So they don't know, the aggressive Matt. I was just like, please don't say that. Don't give her that advice. Don't give her hope for this relationship. I kind of just feel like Colleen, I'm not sure. I'm kind of 50-50 on her. I feel like she definitely feels uneasy about Matt. But again, she's still kind of withholding all the problematic things that he's done from the girls, it seems like. So maybe they don't know to warn her off. She's keeping that information. I felt like that would have been a good time to tell the girls, and then maybe she would have gotten that confirmation that she needs to leave him. But you know, she is a private person. Maybe she kind of just feels uncomfortable telling people about that situation. Zaynab also kind of alludes to the fact that Cole's family don't support the marriage because they're racist. She basically says that they told him that they don't think Zaynab is a physical fit. She doesn't elaborate on what they meant by physical. I feel like some of the girls tried to inquire. But she was just like physical fit, physical fit. But I feel like we all know that physical trait is her race. Like the other girls, they didn't say it. They gave that look as to, they racist. Again with Zaynab, it's not just Cole's parents not coming to the wedding. It seems like it's the entire family not coming to the wedding. And they're refusing to meet Zaynab until her and Cole get married under the whole we don't support cohabitation guys. But I just kind of feel like if you don't want to meet her before she gets married to Cole, then why are you following her on Instagram and stalking her Instagram? It's just really weird, and it just kind of feels like Get Out vibes to me, to be honest. I just kind of feel like, why would you want to marry this man when he has a racist family? I really don't get that as a person of colour, how you can marry somebody who has a racist family. Also, Cole, if his family are racist, I don't think it's very far off that he's probably racist as well. Like, he's said a lot of sus things. And I just kind of feel like, do you guys not think about when you have kids, what you're going to be subjecting your kids to? For me personally, like, it's just, I don't know how people can ignore that. For me, that would be a wrap, because even though Cole has a strained relationship with his family, he's clearly still close enough with them. And I kind of feel like, you know, she is not going to have the in-laws on her side when they have an argument. And I kind of feel like if they were to marry and he was going to have an argument, he would now go to his family and they would like all bitch about Zaynab, and he would be here for it because he's angry at Zaynab and entertaining the racist stuff. And it'll be a thing where they end up like tag teaming her, and it's just like, no girl, just run, you're in danger, girl. And like all the girls are basically telling her to leave him. They're saying, you know, Cole doesn't deserve you, like Cole ain't shit, like he is punching with you. And Zaynab, respect yourself. Like, you said you're that bitch, you're saying, you know, you're a catch. Yes, go be a catch with somebody else, please. Let's leave Cole, please, I'm begging. So then we move on to the marriages, and we do get to see two marriages. The first marriage is SK and Raven. We have a united front when it comes to SK's family. Again, SK is singing Raven's praises. She's his treasure. Perfect. He's reassuring his mother about, you know, their relationship, because obviously, because Raven's family is not coming, they can't do some traditional customs. And he's basically, you know, reassuring his mother, like, please, like, you know, don't be too upset that we're not doing things in a traditional way. SK's mother, you know, reaffirms him and says, you know, I just want you to be happy. I want you to make the right decision for you, you know, and I'm here to support you. All very cute. At this point, I'm thinking SK is saying yes to Raven. They did incorporate Nigerian culture into the wedding. Obviously, SK's wearing the traditional Nigerian attire. Raven, she's wearing a white dress, but she's got the headdress on as well. They're both at the altar. SK says his speech. It was a really cute speech. He talks about, you know, how she's beautiful on the inside, and the icing was she's even more beautiful on the outside. And I was just thinking, of course you would say that. I know it's the beauty, but, you know, beautiful inside, I was thinking, where is that? I have yet to see. But I guess, you know, it's the cliche. It kind of feels like Raven's beauty is the glue holding their relationship together. And then he starts talking about she accepts his culture, and I was again like, where she do that? I guess maybe her wearing this headdress is enough for him. You know, Raven, she says her speech is decent, but, you know, it's a bit basic. And then it comes to saying I do's, and my predictions were that SK was going to say yes because he is enchanted by Raven's beauty and he wants his American biracial baddie pin-up trophy wife. I personally thought Raven was going to say no. She's a material girl. Even though she hasn't admitted it, it's very clear that she likes to be taken care of. SK isn't in a financial situation to do that right now because he's a full-time student, and she's not enthusiastic about integrating into Nigerian culture. So I felt like she was getting overwhelmed by the pressure to do that. So I felt like those were the reasons she was going to say no. But I did think there was a possibility that she could say yes. Obviously, this show is a very big show. Being married to SK would be a good PR move. And as well as that, even though SK can't provide for her now, in 3 years he would be able to do that once he finishes his graduate program, once he establishes his career, and probably the clout from being on Love is Blind will be able to sustain them until he's established his career. Also, SK does have good qualities. He's sensitive. I'm assuming that the rich men she's been with in the past have not been the nicest. Also, clearly, enchanted by her beauty. So, that does make things a bit easier, getting what you want. So the waiting game could work in her favor. So I thought that could be a possibility for her to say yes. SK was up first, and suddenly I was getting a little bit tense. I was feeling a bit on edge. Even though I was thinking this is a definite yes, I was feeling a bit tense because he was taking a while to answer. And then, his lips start moving and they start quivering, and they start stuttering. It's not giving good nervous, it was giving bad nervous. And I'm like, is he gonna say no? I feel like he's gonna say no. Now I'm thinking, is Mission American Wife off? And then the words came out and he said no. I couldn't believe it. I said, no. Everyone was gagged. Raven was gagged. Her friends were gagged. His family was gagged. His mother was gagged. I was like, oh. At this point, I'm thinking maybe he's finally marinated in the disrespect, and he's realized that they are not compatible. Raven isn't really interested in, being involved in Nigerian culture. Her family don't support the marriage. They're probably racist. This has now all come to fruition, and he's decided he can't marry Raven. At this point, that is what I was thinking the reasoning was. But then he said that the reason he couldn't marry her is because they were in different circumstances in life. And I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe it's because of the student thing. He kind of has figured out that it's not the best time to marry a stranger if you're going to be doing a graduate program long distance. But yeah, Raven is clearly embarrassed, is very embarrassed to be rejected on your wedding day and on national TV. And she kind of dips out of there. She's just like, oh my god, I'm never getting married again. And I'm in two minds of whether she was genuinely upset because she was going to say yes, or she's upset because she has been rejected and she didn't want to be the one who was rejected. She would rather be the rejecter, because I was pretty sure she was going to say no. I'd be interested to hear from you guys. Do you think she was upset because she genuinely liked SK and was going to say yes, or because she got rejected and she didn't want to be the one who was rejected? She wanted to be the one who rejected him. Raven says that she believes that SK didn't marry her because she couldn't be the perfect Nigerian wife. I don't think that was the case. I think he was actually happy that she wasn't Nigerian. I feel like he wanted an American wife, culturally American, as opposed to a Nigerian or Nigerian American. So I don't think that was the reason. I feel like he would have accepted her not being enthusiastic about the Nigerian culture because of her beauty, to be honest. He didn't allude to that on the altar either. He basically alluded to their circumstances, aka him being a student. After seeing everything, I don't think her not being the perfect Nigerian wife was an issue. I do think he wanted her to be a bit more submissive, which I will talk about, but I don't think he wanted her to be a full-blown traditional Nigerian wife. SK's mother does go to Raven and comforts her, and that was really sweet. I think his mother is really nice, because it was kind of where's your friends at? How come your friends did not follow you out? I don't know whether it was just editing and they told the friends that they weren't allowed to, come and see her, because I kind of feel like that would be realistic. Of course your friends would come and follow you out after you've just been ditched at the altar. So I'm thinking maybe the producers told her friends they couldn't go and comfort her, and it had to be SK's mother, and only SK's mother was allowed to go see Raven at that specific point. But if that's not the case, then the friends just sat there That's a bit shady, because why wouldn't you go after your friend? Then we find out what SK's reason is for rejecting the marriage. And I was there thinking like it was because of the constant disrespect. But it turns out that wasn't the case. In fact, SK still wants to be with Raven. He just doesn't think that they're ready to get married right now, but he's hoping that they can continue their relationship. The main reason for him rejecting Raven was the whole long distance graduate student situation. Basically, he wanted Raven to move to California with him, and alluded to the fact that, you know, he wasn't happy paying half of her rent and that she kind of needed to compromise a bit more on the finances, and therefore they're not kind of in a position to marry if those compromises can't be made. I kind of feel like SK's expectations were very unrealistic. I feel like starting a marriage on a student budget is not ideal. Also, this whole long distance thing with a stranger, with essentially somebody you just met, is strange that you would, you know, expect her to pick up her life and move to California with you when the casting was in Dallas. It wasn't in California. It was for Dallas. I kind of feel like situations like this, where you're marrying as a student, where you're expecting your wife to move to a different state, that's something you do with someone who is madly in love with you. So mad that they don't have sense. So madly in love with them that you don't care and you will follow them anywhere they go, and not really caring about finances. And somebody who you've been in love with and in a relationship with for a substantial amount of time, but minimum madly in love. SK and Raven were not madly in love, so I'm not sure how he thought that Raven, who has lived in Dallas all her life, has established her business here, has all her friends here, is now going to ditch that to move to California for 3 years with a man she barely knows. But overall, I feel like it was the smartest decision for SK to reject this marriage, because him and Raven were not compatible. Like I've been saying, being a graduate student is a very turbulent time. There's a lot of work. You don't really have time for a relationship, let alone a marriage. 9 times out of 10, if you're going to a casting in Dallas, but then you're moving to California, 9 times out of 10, you were going to be doing a long distance relationship. I doubt any one of these women in the pods would have moved to California with SK and then be compromising on finances for 3 years until he establishes his career. It makes much more sense to pursue a marriage after you've finished your studies, after you've established your careers. That makes a lot more sense to me, and also you would have a larger dating pool to choose from as well. I'm sure when SK gets his high paying job, he'll be able to find another biracial baddie, one that's actually remotely interested in him. I think he knew if he did long distance with Raven that it just wasn't going to work. I don't think Raven would have played the waiting game with him, and I kind of felt like he just kind of knew it was unsustainable and Raven would probably leave him, and it wouldn't have been smart to do that in a marriage. It's better off to test it out as a normal relationship. But I don't think Raven would be here to continue the relationship without marriage. I kind of felt like this was SK's one and only chance to marry Raven, because after you're out of the experiment and you're like, oh my god, this was like so ridiculous. I was just about to marry this man that I barely know, and now that he hasn't married me, am I now meant to continue this relationship? I feel like the rejection will just always leave a sour taste in Raven's mouth, and she was barely interested in him anyway, so I just don't see them continuing their relationship outside of this experiment. But I'd be interested to hear from you guys. Do you think it could work? Raven and SK on the outside just being boyfriend and girlfriend, or do you feel like it's not going to work and Raven's not going to want to pursue a further relationship with him? Do let me know. So then we see Batiste and Nancy, and I was just thinking, I hope this ends the same way, with somebody being rejected. At this point, I didn't care who, as long as it didn't end in marriage. I didn't really care who rejected who. I would have lived for Nancy rejecting Batiste, but at this point, I don't care who puts who out of their misery. I feel like at this point, everybody knows what their relationship is. At this point, Nancy's giving very much, that's mine, I'm gonna stick beside him. And then of course now he's done a 180 and he's showing her all this affection and he says that they can work. So for me, it was a definite yes from Nancy. But I was hoping she was going to say no. I did get a comment basically saying that they think that Nancy is prepping for a victim edit, and that she is, you know, being in this relationship so she can reject Batiste and basically have a Depty moment. But I personally thought that she was being genuine and that she was just generally down bad. But there was, you know, hope for me, thinking maybe she is playing up to the victim edit and she's just going to kick Batiste to the curb and then release a book like Depty. But of course, we know what happens. But deep down, I was really hoping Nancy would say no, that she would realize the disrespect and realize that Batiste is not a good partner. Like, he's so selfish, he's so superficial, and then on top of that, the way that he looks, it doesn't make sense for him to be this superficial, and so much on this looks are important because the looks are not giving. So I'm just like, how are you hung up on Batiste? I really don't know, girl. Like I said before, I'm pretty sure maybe she's been digmatized, maybe. And then Batiste, I was 50-50 on Batiste. I kind of just thought, yes, because he's going to be pampered by Nancy. He was going to be living his best life rent-free, getting a stake in Nancy's business, even though he contributed $0. He knows Nancy will be a good wife to him. This is a pretty good arrangement for Batiste. I would take it if I was him. And because Nancy is just so dumb. Nancy just seems so easy to take advantage of. On the other hand, I was thinking no, because he's been plotting his escape route. He's been creating insecurity within the relationships. He's been hyper-fixated on Raver, has been hyper-fixated on looks, and swears that Nancy is not physically attractive. They have moral clashes. So for me, those were all the reasons that I feel like there was like a 50% chance that Batiste will say no. Nancy, she seems to have her family's blessing for this marriage, and you know, it's cute, it's great to see parents supporting their kids, but me personally, I would be planting the seed for Nancy. I would be like, are you sure? Can you trust it? Is he going to be a good husband? Can you see him being a good father to your kids? I would have been planting those seeds of doubt if Nancy was my daughter. We also see Nancy send Batiste a sentimental gift. It's a box full of the memories that they've made together. Really cute, very well thought out. Did Nancy get one back? No. She did get a package from Batiste, but it kind of felt like he was scrambling together because he hadn't thought of anything sentimental to do. And he basically just sent her a shot with a note that he wrote quickly. And it was just like, Nancy, there is no romance in this relationship. Where is the romance? He didn't even think to, to do something special on your wedding day. Come on, girl. Like, there's barely any romance in this relationship. So then the wedding begins. They're both at the altar. Nancy gives a speech. It was really cute. Batiste gives a speech. It was cute, but with Batiste's speech, it kind of felt like he had writ, or maybe it was even just at the top of his head, a speech for the audience. Like, he didn't really address Nancy personally much throughout the speech. It kind of felt like he was saying a speech to the audience, which again was another red flag for me. But then moving on, we get to the moment of truth, the I do's. Nancy is up first. And the bitch says yes. Oh my God. The bitch says I do. I was hoping this was going to be a deep tea moment. Unfortunately, it was not. Batiste has officially broken Nancy's legs. She can no longer stand. And it's just like, why, Nancy? How? I really thought you were lying. It's given he's put a spell on her. It's given that, because I just cannot believe. Next, it's Batiste. And, the drums start playing. The drums are picking up. It's getting tense. And then it cuts to black. We're left on a cliffhanger. We don't know what Batiste says. We're going to have to wait till the next episode. I knew that cliffhanger was coming, to be honest. I felt it. But I'm really hoping that Batiste says no, for Nancy's sake. I really do hope he says no. But yeah, from the trailer, it seems like the next batch of marriages are going to be a mess. It seems like we've got a runaway bride. Like, it seems like Colleen just hitched up her dress and is running for the door, honey. And I'm ready for it. So, in terms of my predictions for the other marriages, I feel like it's pretty much 50-50 with everyone. I feel like each person has their pros and cons of their partner, and they'd be willing to make compromises for the sake of, having a marriage. So, I feel like for most of them, it's 50-50, except for Colleen and Matt. I kind of just feel like they're not going to get married. I feel like Colleen is going to be the one to say no. and Matt might be the one to say yes. That's what I'm predicting for that particular one. If they get married, I'm not going to be surprised. If they don't get married, I'm not going to be surprised. With these couples, I cannot call any of them because I just simply do not buy what they are selling. But it looks like there's going to be some car crash weddings and I'll be here to see it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on this batch of episode. Do let me know what you thought about the individuals on this show. Do let me know what you thought about the couples on this show. Do let me know what you thought about the events that went on this show, and do let me know what your predictions are for the next set of episodes. Next week there's only one episode, so I feel like I might do a reaction of it as well as a review, but that's going to be coming up next week, so stay tuned for that. As always, let me know what you thought about my commentary. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, don't forget to put my notification bell on so you know when my next video is dropping. I'm also trying to get to 4.5k subscribers. That's my next short-term goal, and I'd appreciate if you help me hit that. I just passed 4.4k, so thank you to everybody who helped me hit that, and thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel so far, and thank you to everybody who's taken the extra step to sign up to my Patreon. It really means a lot to me. Till next time, guys. Bye.